AITA for divorcing my husband during his mental health crisis? My husband, 38M, and I, 38F, have been married since 2009, and we have a preteen daughter. The last 3 years have been particularly challenging for us due to my husband's unfavorable working conditions, which began to affect his mental health. I noticed signs of burnout and depression, consistently expressing my concerns to him. However, he was dismissive and refused to acknowledge his situation or seek therapy. As a result, he became increasingly distant, isolating himself and frequently clashing with our daughter. Eventually, he revealed that he had formed a connection with a woman at work. According to him, their relationship was not physical, but he professed to be in love with her, and considered her to be his soulmate and best friend. He said he was sorry, and that he couldn't decide which woman would ultimately make him happiest. He disclosed this information at a time when I was going through the toughest period of my life, leaving me to cry alone over shattered dreams and plans we had built together. He also told me that in order to clear his head, he would need to leave the house and spend some time on his own. Apparently, that co-worker he had feelings for had offered him her spare room, and he was going to take it. I asked for his help organizing the rest of the school year as I was commuting, and I promised him that as soon as the school year was over, I would look for an apartment closer to my work, and our daughter and I would move out, and he could have the house to himself for his healing. I found an apartment almost immediately, and we moved. He visited us one weekend a month and brought his chaos with him every time. The new home had become a safe haven that we cherished, and he took it over as soon as he appeared, and it felt like I wasn't breathing until he finally left. After 6 months of living like this, I decided I had given things enough time to mend, and they had not. I was still hurt and bitter, and he was still cagey about what was going on and what his ultimate decision really was. I told him I was done living like this and that I wanted a divorce. He absolutely lost his temper, left, and drove back to our old house in the middle of the night just to get away from me. A week later, he told me the co-worker is pregnant, and he was angry that I didn't want to even try to fix our marriage. Since then, he has gotten increasingly more hostile and accusatory in his communication with me. He blames me for breaking up the marriage and abandoning him during his crisis. He says he was not himself and has no idea why he did the things he did, but that I was the one who left. He claims I was no help when he needed me and that I had clearly mentally abandoned our relationship long before the current circumstances. He tells me I'm cold and calculating and clearly not the person he thought I was. I understand that he is not well, and he finally did go to therapy. I explained a lot of his actions with that in mind at first. So, am I really the monster he claims I have become by taking his daughter away and leaving? Update 1. The divorce is in process, and I have not seen him in person for some 4 months at this point. He mostly keeps radio silence until it seems he has to unload some hurt on me. I've kept my contact with him to a minimum, only ever messaging him regarding our daughter or requesting him to react to official paperwork or his electricity bills that I've transferred to him. Due to the circumstances in which we started this separation originally, I paid most of his living expenses, mainly since I have a steady job and get paid double his salary. He is still very much incapacitated by his mental health issues, and I wanted to alleviate some of the practical matters for him. Now that we are pulling everything apart, he has been, maybe purposefully, making this into a very slow and frustrating process. Currently, I still pay for his electricity, and he reimburses those bills for me at the end of each month. Sometimes I need to hound him to get paid back. Usually, this leads to him messaging me all day, usually with complaints about how I'm now raising our daughter, now that I have made him supposedly obsolete. Telling me to get a new dad to help me with the job as soon as possible. He seems to try very hard to push my buttons by saying things like, "It must be very hard for you to send your daughter to someone who you loathe and hate so much," and if I make the mistake of losing my temper, even for one swear word, he will turn immediately and tell me to calm down, stop getting so heated, and maybe we should continue our discussion when I'm not so wound up. I have mainly chosen not to engage in these conversations if they start going off the rails, and I have all of his outbursts in writing. I'm also currently under the impression that the coworker is not interested in a relationship with him anymore. And for those who asked, yes, the baby is his by his own word. He still has not told our daughter about any of it, and I have chosen to give him an ultimatum on the matter. I will bring it up one more time when we have our official meeting with our child welfare officer next month, and if he still refuses, I will take it upon myself to tell our daughter the truth. I have also contacted her school therapist and the curator and informed them of the issues she is facing now and the ones still to come. I'm hoping they will offer her some scheduled help since I know she is shy about telling me everything. She is the most important thing in my life, and as sorry as I am for her having to go through this essentially because of my choices, I refuse to take all the blame now, and I'm ready to shift it where it belongs. Update 2. Hello Reddit, it has been months since my original post and update. I finally separated the rest of our finances, stopped paying his bills, and made official agreements on child support and custody, which remains shared for now as he went back on his word to give it to me uncontested. He did not agree to sign an official visitation agreement, but I offered him every other weekend and half of all holidays. He has started to meet our daughter more often, though nowadays she actually visits him on her own free will. It seems that their relationship has gotten a bit better lately, which I'm of course happy about. He has been absolutely terrible towards me though. He started a campaign of passive-aggressive texting after I asked him to be civil. Now every message is overly syrupy and filled with overflowing apologies. I ignored this until he decided to talk to me face to face when we went to sign the agreements. He told me his therapist told him to talk to me for closure and to speak his mind, and so he did. He once again just explained to me how hard the last year has been and how I tore the marriage apart. How he was not ready to accept this divorce and never will be. How nothing in his current life is what he wanted or asked for, and considers it an insult if I congratulated him over the upcoming baby, etc. This felt really off considering he had just moved in with his affair partner. He originally tried to hide this too and was evasive, but, of course, our daughter found out the next time she visited and also told me. I know it is pointless, but I felt I needed to say something too, so I told him that he completely continues to ignore all my pain and the mental work I had to do over this entire thing, and I can't help the fact that my love evaporated in the process, but he says I didn't even try. He said even my parents were more supportive of him because they had exchanged pleasantries having met briefly a few weeks prior. I told him to look in the mirror and that his little passive-aggressive game was so obvious. Clearly, it hit home because he stopped immediately after. He has also been snooping over my dating life through our daughter and is blatantly jealous and gets very verbally aggressive over it. Now the thing that brought me back to you here tonight is that despite my life having turned so much better in the last few months, and my daughter and I have been happier than in a long while, I fell into an unexpected pit today. He was supposed to have her over this weekend but ended up canceling. The reason he gave me was different from what he gave our daughter, so I knew he lied to someone. Yesterday, he blew up on me over text that originally started as a discussion over our daughter's visits. He started the same old song of me being so petty over such a minor thing as his affair that was apparently not even a real affair at first. He wrote that my parents were right about me being too sensitive, and he knows how low of a blow this is since he has been supporting me through my issues with my parents. I told him how low that was and that he does not get to quantify my pain, and he totally lost his marbles to the point where I had to stop reading his messages because I was afraid I would start to cry in the office. This morning, our daughter ran to me crying happy tears and jumping for joy. Her father had sent her pictures of the newly born little sister. I congratulated the new official older sister, and we gushed over the pictures a little. Throughout the day, my mood has just been awful. I've gotten messages from my family asking how I am, but it's starting to weigh on me. I have been tired and easily irritated. All of a sudden, I felt like I had no one to talk to. No one who would really understand, someone unbiased, an adult to talk to. Those have been my hardest moments in all of this. I lost my best friend when we fell apart, and whenever I feel like I really need to open up and spill my heart, it reminds me of how alone I feel. Is this a normal reaction? I have been fine and very emotionally cut off from him for so long, and somehow the birth of this baby sent me into this sudden nosedive today. I felt like I needed to tell all of this to someone, so thank you for reading.